So welcome to Messy Thriving. It's our new show for Little Miracles that we wanted to produce for our staff in particular, but also for our parent community and anybody else that's interested in human development and thriving. We really love people and we love helping people reach their full potential. And this is one of the ways that we want to create space, especially in the midst of the coronavirus that we're going through right now. It's causing so much stress, so much pressure. What we're going to look at today is actually an idea from Brené Brown around working on your terrible first times. She actually has another name for it, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we're all going through stuff at the moment. For me, 2 weeks into the coronavirus, I've dealt with stress in all kinds of different ways. Stress is just a result of pressure, and right now there's lots of pressure on all of us, whether that's having our kids at home, whether that's working at home from the first time, whether it's going to the crazy shops and having to spend that 1.5 meters away and following the dots on the floor. It's all stuff that's so necessary right now, but it's creating all this pressure. I don't know how you've dealt with the pressure so far. I've dealt with it in both good and bad ways. I've watched a lot of Marvel movies. I've yelled at my kids. I've had some very heated discussions with my wife. I've had a little bit too much to drink at times. I've also gone for long bike rides. So there's some of the things that have worked and maybe not really worked for me. In fact, when I'm under stress, sometimes I cope well. Sometimes I just cope. And other times I've actually thrived. There has been times over this last couple of weeks where I've found myself in a really healthy, constructive, thriving space. And that's what we want this show to be about, is actually trying to find ways to not just cope, but to actually thrive in the midst of the mess. And I'm not perfect at that. I don't know anybody that is, but I'm in a really fortunate position that my role within our company at Little Miracles means that I get to research, present, and empower our staff through the ideas, the people, the tools, and situations that we come across of other people that are also messy, but that are able to thrive in the midst of their mess. And so that's what this show is going to be all about. So I just want to read you a quote. I'm a strength finders coach for our business, and it's one of the tools we use consistently to help our teams thrive individually and as a team. And I want to read you a quote from Gallup. Okay, so Gallup defines a strength-based team as a group of imperfect but talented individuals valued for their strengths who need one another for individual and team excellence. So who is your team? And hopefully some of our LM, our Little Miracles staff are watching this, and so their team are the people they work with. Whether that's in the office here, we have our teams, or on the floor, the girls in the rooms and the guys in the rooms have their teams. Their room team, but also the bigger team of their centre. But a team is any group of individuals coming together. And what I love about Gallup's definition is it starts out with imperfect but talented, messy but talented. We're all messy, we're all imperfect. But as it goes on, it says valued for their strengths who need one another for individual and team excellence. So we know we're imperfect, we're messy. We value people and we actually look past their mess and we find what is great about them. What are they strong in? What are their talents? And then we choose to partner with them, because in that choosing to partner together is where we often thrive, not just on our own talent, but in partnering with other people. And sometimes that's partnering with other ideas as well. So your team can be your family. It could be your friendship group. It could be your sporting team. But a team is just that group coming together. So this can be any group where we accept the imperfection of the individuals, find and place value on each other's particular strengths, and choose to connect as the way to really thrive. So Messy Thriving is going to be a show where we're going to try and create space for that, where you and I can go on a journey where we can learn to thrive And I really want your feedback in the comments below. I want to hear how you're thriving, people that are influencing you. I've got some ideas and I get to work with our beautiful teams, but we don't have all the ideas. So we would love to hear your feedback on how you're thriving in these particular crazy times. So today we're going to look at one of my favorite people when it comes to thriving in the midst of mess, and that's Brené Brown. So she's written this book here. This is one of 4 bestsellers that she's written since 2010. She's also very famous for her YouTube. You can find them on YouTube, but she's actually famous for her TED Talks. One of her TED Talks is in the top, I think it's the top 10 most watched TED Talks of all time. So the lady's kind of well known, but you may have never heard of her before, and that's okay. The reason I want to talk about Brené today is because Brené has this amazing podcast that she's just started releasing, and the first topic was on FFTs. And FFT stands for, I'm going to use the child-friendly version, freaking first times. You can guess what the F actually stands for. And then she has a child-friendly version, which she says is TFTs, terrible first times. The reason I think Brené is someone worth listening to is because she is someone that actually definitely thrives in the midst of mess. We're talking about a lady who is, I'll read it out because otherwise I'll get it wrong, but she is a research professor at the University of Houston Graduate College of Social Work. So yes, she is a person that is very well educated and is in that world of academia, but the thing I love about Brené is that yes, she loves facts, and yes, she loves the data, but she's an incredible storyteller. And so she takes the data and she applies it to people's everyday lives, and she does it in such a fun and entertaining way with her amazing storytelling powers. So what I want to do today is to give you a brief introduction into this idea on FFTs. If you want more information, you can listen to Brené's podcast. We'll link it in the description below so you can hear it for yourself. But what I took out of it, anyway, when I listened to it, and I've listened to it several times now because I've needed this in this moment, is to normalize first times, to actually voice that I'm going through a first time. It's a first time that I've had so many distressed parents ringing me in 1 week. That's put pressure on me. I go home and my beautiful wife and daughters are under pressure. For Nell, it's for her work in counselling. For my girls, my middle daughter is going through year 12 this year. So obviously there's a fair bit of stress. And just the stress of, not knowing what the heck next week or next month looks like in the midst of coronavirus. That's caused a lot of stress, and all of those are first times for me. And so actually being able to step back and realize that this is normal. Anytime we go through a first time, there's going to be stress, there's going to be pressure associated. And part of it's the uncertainty. So when I step back and I actually acknowledge that this is what I'm going through and that it's normal and that there is extra pressure on my life right now and life isn't the way it was last week or the week before, it allows me to step back and to put it in a context and to normalize that stress. The stress doesn't disappear. The pressure doesn't disappear when I vocalize it, when I'm able to talk about this first time. But it does put it in a realm that I can then deal with it. And to actually verbalize the discomfort that I'm going through. So what I've loved about looking at these FFTs is to normalize it, is to put it into context, and to give myself some space, to be gracious with myself and realize that I'm not thriving right now, but that's actually okay. That actually, in the midst of a first time, thriving is not an automatic response, but it's a choice as I find people I can partner with, as I partner better with my wife, my daughters, my work colleagues here. I'm gonna need more help in this time. As I walk through first times, there's more stress. I've had to reach out to people around me. I've had to reach out to my counsellor who I got to see yesterday, who I get to walk through some of the stress and pressure of work. I've had to step back from those heated conversations that I've had with my wife and step back and realize why we're both under so much pressure at the moment, and give each other some more grace, some more space. I've had to step back and realize that the people that are ringing me, whether it's staff or parents, that they're under extra pressure right now, that they've never done this before either. And so it's helped me to put it into a context that allows me to see that this isn't the end of the world, that we will get through this. One of the tools that Brené uses is thinking about what you're going through right now. What's it going to look like in 5 hours, 5 days, or 5 weeks when you look at the same situation? And to be honest, some of the stuff I'm going through right now, I don't know what it's going to look like in 5 weeks. But actually in 5 weeks, I am going to have more context. The world won't have ended. I'll be able to be a healthier version of myself if I can put it in that context. So we have staff right now getting ready to do Zoom for the very first time back to children who are in self-isolation with their parents. And I've got a whole bunch of staff, and maybe that's you if you're watching right now, who are freaking out about that. So if I look at FFTs through my strengths coaching lens, I look at the fact that people actually have different ways of perceiving different challenges. Now, for my staff that have a lot of relationship building talents, this is going to be a reasonably easy thing for them to do because they enjoy connecting with people, they enjoy reaching out. Some of my staff who have yellow, which is influencing strengths or influencing talents, they're stoked. They get the opportunity to influence more people. For our staff though that have a lot more of our executing strengths, they might not be as into connecting with people or influencing people. They just want to get stuff done. And often people are not their forte, or not the thing that they are most natural at connecting with. And so for a lot of my staff who've got those executing strengths, there's a fear of that first time of stepping up, looking into that iPad and being able to connect with those children and the parents at home, as well as connecting with the kids in the room, because that's actually not something that comes naturally to them. If that's you, I want to encourage you to actually own that moment. Own it. This is not something you love. This is not something you're natural at, but it is something that when you put into context, you can do. In fact, for all of you guys that are stressing out this, there's a good chance that actually connecting with parents for the first time is a challenge for you. That when you have to step up as a trainee or as a new educator and connect with parents, connect with children, connect with other team members, that was a challenge. But we know you guys are all doing it. It might not be your favorite thing to do, but you can do it. If we step back for the rest of us right now, I love connecting with people. That's kind of why I'm hosting this channel. But the thing is, I'm still scared. I've never done this before. It's weird to think I'm sitting behind a desk with some books, a plant, a bit of a script, and trying to empower people in a very different way than I've ever done before, and hoping that it really impacts some people's lives. Maybe a little, maybe a lot, but it's scary. First times are scary. First times produce stress. So that's something that I really took out of listening to Brené's podcast and looking at it through a strengths lens. Over the coming weeks, we're going to look at a lot more tools, a lot more people, and we're going to keep coming back to this strengths lens, which is going to make more sense for my staff who have all had at least some training in strengths. But I'll probably do at least one video where we'll break down strengths for everybody at home, our parent community and others that have never really heard of strengths or haven't had the opportunity to go down this path. So thanks for watching today. We're going to produce this as a weekly show. Please check out the links below. We'll have links to Brené's podcast, to some of her books, and probably one of her TED Talks. Check her out. And from all the crew that are part of this show, we really hope that you're able to take your first steps or take more steps into really thriving in the midst of your mess. Thanks.